Hello everybody, Jo here. Thanks for tuning in and welcome to another episode of AAT Xtra. If you haven't watched AAT Xtra before, this series is designed to motivate and support you through your studies, as well as providing you with information on how being a member of AAT can help to shape your career. This episode is called How to Set Yourself Up for Success in 2020. And we have a great learning session on how to motivate yourself and plan your studies from Accountancy Learning. We'll also be taking a look at our latest AAT Stories video from the Lighting Industry Association and hearing from AAT students Kimberly and Natasha about their top motivation and revision tips. If you can't watch the episode right now, don't worry, you can watch the video at any time after this stream. Also be sure to watch the 2 episodes we shared previously. Just go to facebook.com/YourAAT/videos. Before we get started, here are a few updates from AAT. For those of you preparing to sit Foundation Synoptic Assessments, the next window to sit the assessment is between the 3rd and 9th of February. Results for this window will be available on the 19th of March. For the Advanced Synoptic Assessment, your next window is between the 2nd and 8th of March. Results will be available on the 16th of April. The next Professional Synoptic Assessment window is between the 9th and 15th of March. Results will be available on the 23rd of April. Remember, results for synoptic assessments will be available throughout their respective release days. There are no set times for results to be released, so keep an eye on your AAT dashboard for yours. Now I want to introduce you to our Ready, Set, Go campaign. We created Ready, Set, Go so you can feel confident and ready to schedule your assessments by giving you tailored support on the topics you need when you need it. Currently, Ready, Set, Go is available to foundation qualification students, but we'll be launching it for advanced and professional qualifications in the coming months. You can sign up at any time and pick the subjects you need support with, such as bookkeeping transactions or elements of costing. Follow the steps on your AAT weekly email to register. We've kicked off the new year by helping you boost your career with our latest Power Up theme on our AAT comment blog. Over January and February, we're posting articles that will help you to find the extra gear in your finance career. So far, we've posted a range of articles covering the different paths your career can take you on. We've heard top tips from experts, what employers really want, and there's even more on the way as we dive into apprenticeships in February. Don't miss it. Bookmark the AAT Power Up page over on aatcomment.org.uk. I'm now going to pass you over to Accountancy Learning, who will go through a brilliant guide on how to set yourself up for success in 2020.
Hi, I'm Simon Dean, and this is
Prue Dean.
And we've been asked by the AAT to run a session on how to set yourself up for success in 2020. So just looking at the sort of things we're going to cover on this session, we're going to start off with an introduction to goal setting and then follow on with a bit more detail on setting long-term and short-term goals. After which we'll look at some of the challenges you face, and there's always tons, and some of the solutions that we suggest. And then finally, a little bit on creating a study space to help you study effectively. And then finally, just a bit about ourselves to give us some street cred, really. So getting started, if you're going on a journey and you use your sat-nav, the first thing you do is put your postcode in. Because if you don't put your postcode in, you're not going to get where you want to go. And there's the same thing with your studies, it's the same thing with business. Back in the 70s, there was a study by Harvard Business School where they surveyed their students, and 84% of the entire class they interviewed had no goals, hadn't set any goals for life. 13% had set goals but hadn't any concrete plans about how they were going to achieve those goals. And only 3% of the class had actually written goals and written plans. And then about 10 years later, they surveyed the same batch of students to find out where they were. And the 13% of that class were making twice as much money as the 84%. But the 3% who had written goals and concrete plans were making 10 times as much as the rest of the 97%. Because they knew what they were going to do, what they wanted to do, and they achieved it. So I think it's worth bearing that in mind in terms of what you're going to do. So in terms of yourself, what is your ultimate goal? What do you want to do with your AAT qualification, and by when? Do you want to become a bookkeeper? Do you want to become an accountant? If you're a bookkeeper, do you want to be employed or freelance? And what do you want to do after AAT? You're going to do ACCA, ACA, CIMA, CIPFA. So it's worth at the beginning deciding how far you want to go, because that's going to be really important. And then you can set a target date for your ultimate goal and work your way back to intermediate goals all along the way. So it's creating that roadmap for yourself. So again, on SatNav, you'll look at your journey, where you're going to go, where you're going to go past to see if you're going wrong.
So once you've established exactly what you want to do, what your long and short-term goals are, you need to break down your goal into target dates. So start off with your annual goals. It could be that you want to complete the AAT Level 2 Certificate in Accounting over the year. And then you break that down into your quarterly goals. It could be that you want to sit an exam during the quarter and be halfway preparing for your next exam. In terms of monthly goals, it could be working your way through progress tests and practice assessments and so on. And in terms of your weekly goals, you need to break it all down into what you're going to do each week. So it could be, what topic are you going to study? Topic or topics. And then finally, you would break everything down into your daily goals. What is it that I plan to study this evening, this morning, today, tomorrow morning, etc.? Something worth bearing in mind is that you have to be really realistic. All sorts of things crop up unexpectedly. So do factor some buffer time when you're setting your targets and so on. It could be holidays, but as we all know, all sorts of things crop up. So do take that into account when you're setting your targets.
So as you're studying, there are going to be a number of challenges that you have, especially with distance learning. One of those is to keep yourself motivated. It can be pretty hard when there's lots of other things vying for your attention. Life does get in the way, and you need to always try and keep sight of your goal, your vision, the reason why you decided to embark upon your AAT qualification. And it's partly about studying the technical stuff and being able to cope with the technical stuff, but also it's about coaching yourself or having someone else to help coach you to get you motivated and moving forwards on according to your plan. So motivation is key. You can take a horse to water, but you can't make it drink, is the phrase. So you've got to want to drink the whole time. And you've got to be self-disciplined. Now, this is heel or heel ourself in terms of me, because I'm not the most self-disciplined of people. I like to think I'm exotic and clever and lateral thinker, but I need to be much more of a literal thinker. A lot of time I'd rather be doing something else. So you've got to be really focused about what you're going to do. I will sometimes make up things to do, chores. I'll go and do washing up to avoid study. I'll make a cup of coffee to avoid study. So you've got to say, I'm going to sit down at 8 o'clock tonight, I'm going to study for 2 hours, and tell everybody that's what I'm going to do. Because if you don't do that, it won't happen. So be really organised with your time. You're bound to have other commitments. Put that in your diary. Know when you're going to meet those commitments, but also know when you're going to be doing your study time. And we would really, really encourage you to agree at the beginning of the week, I'm going to set 8 hours. That's when I'm going to do it on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, whenever, and have it in the diary. Keep to that time schedule. Because if you don't, you won't keep up with your studies. And if there is a problem, then take a break. But realign your time schedules. Agree with your tutor, with your colleagues. That's when I'm going to stop studying. That's when I'm going to start again. Because things do get in the way and panics always will happen. But plan those in.
So now we come on to some solutions. And it's all about planning, really, the importance of setting yourself up for success. So this is really all about your why. Why did you decide to complete your AAT in the first place? What were the reasons behind it? Was it a new career, new job, wanting to set up as a freelance bookkeeper because you want flexibility around your family commitments? And then visualise having achieved your AAT qualification. What will your world look like now? It could be that you want to be moving to a new home, or you have moved into a new home, taking the family on regular holidays, having flexible work patterns, so that you can be with your young ones when they grow up. And for some of you, it could just be about feeling really brilliant about yourself, having achieved that qualification, a real confidence booster. Now, moving on to vision boards, this is something I'm a real fan of. Vision boards can be a really excellent way of helping you to stay focused on your long-term goals. Generally, you would complete it annually, and it's what we've done is create a sort of A3 board that you put on your wall, and it's very visual. So if you wanted to be moving house at the end of the year, you find some photographs of your ideal house and you stick it on your vision board. Imagine you with that AAT certificate, find a picture, put that on the wall. And I think it's really important to keep that in your study area. So every time you go to study, you see that vision board, and it's just a really good way of helping you to stay focused and on track. The next thing we have is the Individual Learning Plan, or ILP. Now, your training provider should have given you an individual learning plan, and it sets out the key target dates. For example, when you're going to sit each exam, when you're going to work through progress tests, submit practice assessments, and so on. So it's really important to have some target dates. So, as Simon said earlier, you know what direction you're going in and when your target endpoint is. Obviously, your individual learning plan is flexible as well. So if something major crops up, you can always adjust it and so on. Once you've got your target dates on your individual learning plan, the next thing is to put it into a study planner. So this goes into a lot more detail. In an ideal world, you'll be studying for a minimum of 8 hours per week. So you need to work out when your study sessions are going to be. It could be 2 or 3 evenings a week. It could be first thing in the morning. It could be at weekends and so on. So map all those dates into your study planner, and then based on your ILP, work out which units you're going to be studying, which topics you're going to be studying, and so on. So you know, looking at your planner, exactly what you're going to be studying during each study session that you've mapped in for yourself.
While Prue was talking then, I had a quick thought that a lot of students we speak to are looking to get a job, and one of the things we'll talk to them about as either tutor before they enroll is about that sort of the sort of job they want. So we'll talk to them about writing a CV, and I think it's a really good idea if you have a CV, whether you're within your own employer or looking for another job, because it's useful to have that, to focus on the things you have done and the things you want to do, and put some time scales on that. And as you progress through your studies, you're going to be updating your CV as you go along. So again, that helps give some focus for what you're doing. As Prue mentioned, what you should be trying to do is, I think, get a good 8 hours a week, but put that in the diary, be consistent, and have set times in the week where you're going to be studying. And the other thing about studying is if you're studying in the morning, great, but always have a recap at night, because science shows that if you cover something last thing before you go to bed, you're going to remember it more the next day. And people have been tested and will do better in exams if they've just reminded themselves before they go to bed, because there's much better memory retention. If you do get behind on your schedules, try and catch up, because if you get behind, then you're going to get depressed. And you always got to focus on when you're going to sit your exam. And we have students who will book an exam knowing that if they don't book it, they won't study. So having that pressure on them, internal pressure, I think can be really good. And when you're doing a synoptic exam, you bear that in mind, because for advanced level and professional level, they're only every 2 months. So you want to time your studies to do that. But don't be over ambitious. We'll have some people who will finish level 2. We've had one in 15 weeks. Other people have taken 12 months, 14 months. It's got to fit in to your timetable, and don't feel guilty because you're taking longer than someone else. And don't fight your natural biorhythm. Prue's a night owl, I'm a lark. So I tend to get up early and do things. We've got a member of staff who's studying AAT. She gets up at 5 o'clock in the morning. because that's when she can really study and she's awake. And she comes into the office bright and breezy. I hate her. She's so cheerful in the morning. But when she goes home in the evening, she's got family to look after. And by the time she gets ready to study, she's wiped out. So she's sensible and she does her study in the morning. So work with your biorhythm. Know when you're better at studying. And when you're doing a study session, always try and apply it. Don't just read something. Have a little practice. Do some questions, some activities to get it from your brain, down your arm, through your fingers, onto a piece of paper, onto your computer. Because it's applying that knowledge is going to make it stick. It's practice, 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 practice. So you organise your study sessions to get that practice in at the end of it. And the other thing I think is worth thinking about is having someone that you can be accountable for. If you've got a personal tutor, you're going to be accountable to them. If you're self-studying, find a friend, find a colleague, get your mum to nag you once a week. Give them a copy of your learning plan so that they know what you should be doing. And every week, make contact so they can say, how have you done? Have you hit those targets? Because having someone who you're accountable for does encourage you to do it. I mean, in our business, just as a business, we have a coach. We Skype every Wednesday morning at 8 o'clock with Steve, and we take the plans from our 90-day plan each week, put them in a diary, put them on our accountability sheet, and every Wednesday we go through that with him. And Prue says she's done them and she's up to date, and she smiles smugly, and I have to say, I haven't quite done all of mine, but it's a really good nag, because if I didn't have it, I would do even less than I do. So being accountable, I think, is really, really important.
Finally, create the ideal study space for yourself. So what you really need to do here is have a dedicated study space. Try and find somewhere really quiet where you won't be disturbed, and make this your regular study space. If you've got family at home, agree with everyone in your home that this is your study space. And if it's in a kitchen or in the sitting room, in an armchair or something, make sure they know that at a particular time of day, this is your space where you're going to study undisturbed. I think it's a good idea to give them a copy of your individual learning plan and your study planner as well, so that they can see exactly when it is that you are going to be dedicated to your studies. Also, it's important that they know that you can only be disturbed if it's an absolute emergency. Also, if there isn't anywhere at home, you really can't think of anywhere, you haven't got a little study or your bedroom or anything like that, another thing you can do is go to the library. You certainly won't be disturbed there. Nobody's going to be talking to you, and so on. So assuming you've got or found your study space, the next thing is to make sure you are free from distractions. So switch off your mobile phone so you haven't got texts coming in, switch off your emails so they're not pinging in, and have everything set up ready for your studies, such as your laptop, your PC, etc. A notepad, pens, pencils, highlighters if you're using textbooks as well, and a supply of drinks, a non-alcoholic that is, and snacks. So in a nutshell, make sure you've got absolutely everything you could possibly need so you aren't constantly getting up and down, getting things, and then just set to and study. It's also important to make sure you've got that vision board and your study planner in front of you, preferably on a wall or notice board. And something else that can really help with studying is having some relaxing background music, sort of not heavy metal stuff, something really soothing and calming to help you study and relax. Another thing, when you've finished your study session, always try and plan out what you're going to do for the next study session, so that when you do come to that study session, you're not looking through your notes and trying to figure out what it is you're supposed to be studying in this particular session. So again, it's stopping you wasting time at the beginning of your session. You should be ready to get straight on with it. And the final thing to chat about is sleep. And we can't emphasise this enough, really. It's super important to get enough sleep. If you don't, you really aren't going to learn properly. And Simon's just going to chat about a brilliant book that we've both read.
Yeah, there's a book called Why We Sleep by Matthew Walker. I'm not on a commission at all, but it has actually changed how we behave. And we do try to get to bed at a set time now and try to get our 8 hours sleep, because I was quite butch before. So, well, you only need 6 hours sleep. All the best people only get 6 hours sleep, but they do struggle and they do get problems. And it can be clinically shown to lead on to things like dementia if you don't get enough sleep. And memory retention does suffer if you don't get enough sleep. And there's really useful tips in there. And I didn't think I'd enjoy it, but I really found a huge amount from reading that. And I think is really important. And the other book hiding under there is a book called Atomic Habits, which again is getting yourself into a routine. And one of the things it talks about is going to the gym. And even if you haven't got time, you should go to the gym even for 10 minutes because you've gone to the gym. And you do something as opposed to just stop going to the gym. And study is going to be a bit like that. Even if you don't have very long, do it, because you get into that routine and you make yourself do it. And one thing I was quickly going to mention was that AAT have quite a useful summary of guided learning hours for each level. And people often ask, how long will it take to finish my level 2, my level 3, and my level 4? And it is a useful guide. And we can show it says if you do 8 hours a week, then it's going to take you like 10 months to get through your level 2 or your level 3. But if you do 4 hours a week, it could take you twice as long. And you just need to accept that the amount of study you put in will have an impact on how long it takes. And the more you do, the more motivated you are. If you only play with your studies, you're going to take ages and ages, you're going to get bored witless and give up. You've got to have some process to keep you going. I think that's really, really important. Yeah. We've also been asked to just talk a little bit about accountancy learning, but what's more important than us is you. We will therefore talk through a typical learner journey and the challenges you face and explain how we try to resolve them. So the first thing you want to do we'll ask is, what qualification do you want? What qualifications do you need? What course should you be enrolling on? And then what level of tutor support will you want? And then how will you want to pay upfront or spread out? And only once we've established these things should you enroll and then study, learn, prepare for the exams, do all the hard bits. But it's got to be based on getting the right course in the first place. And we will spend quite a considerable amount of time at the beginning to get you on that right course. It could easily take half an hour to do that. And over last year, we achieved Matrix accreditation, which is all about a national standard for initial advice and guidance. And we're not sure whether other distance learning providers have done that. So we feel it's really important. And in terms of one of the things we will talk about is, do you want to do an accounting qualification or do you want to do a bookkeeping qualification? And on the slide, we're just setting out there what's involved with the units of level 2, what's involved with the units of level 3 for accounting and for bookkeeping. And if you want to be a bookkeeper, then it's probably best to go down the bookkeeping route because you can achieve that within 12 months. It'll be the same cost as the level 2 certificate in accounting. So you'll achieve your aim much quicker and for less cost than going down the accounting route, if that's what you want.
In terms of course packages, we have several. And the first question really that we would ask you is, do you want to be supported by a personal tutor or do you want to self-study? So all of the packages have exactly the same learning materials, but our basic package is a self-study package. We're obviously still there to support you if you have questions such as sitting exams, AAT membership and so on. But if you're stuck with your trial balance, then it's over to you to try and sort that out yourself. Our standard package comes with tutor support, which is unlimited, so you can contact your tutor as many times as you like, and they also provide proactive contact. So they'll phone you regularly just to make sure everything's okay and help keep you on track. And with our Standard Plus package, it includes everything as above, but it also includes the cost of AAT registration, subscription and exam fees. And it's a popular one with employers as it's very much a one-off cost. It's also worth noting that if you're on the self-study package and you're finding it a bit difficult, you can upgrade at any point during your course. In terms of our learning materials, all our students, whether they're on the tutor-supported or self-study package, get the same learning materials. So at level 2 foundation, we have online interactive bite-sized video presentations with interactive quizzes, full downloadable transcripts, activities, answers, progress tests, practice assessments, and so on. And at AAT Level 3 Advanced and AAT Level 4 Professional, we have video presentations, interactive quizzes, progress tests again, practice assessments, and these are supplemented with textbooks as well. Other resources we include are animated videos. We have a monthly e-newsletter that's sent out to all of our students. And we have lots of blogs, Facebook, competitions, and so on. Something else that we think is really important, being successful in your exams is not just about studying hard, it's also about studying smart. And we include in our apprenticeship programme a series of personal skills online learning modules, a selection of which we're now going to be providing for our distance learning students, and that's at no extra cost.
So having got your learning materials, if you're paying for tutor support, then what you'll get is you'll get a welcome phone call from your personal tutor within 24 hours to say hi, to make contact with you and to start to build a relationship. And as part of that, they'll contact you once a week for 6 weeks just to build up that routine and build up that relationship, because that relationship is really key to the whole process. Thereafter, they'll contact you on a proactive basis every month if they haven't heard from you. But if you contact them, they'll just respond. So you've got unlimited access. You send your progress tests in for marking feedback. You've got a query, you contact them. It tends to be a problem just before the synoptic. The poor tutors end up getting half a dozen synoptic practice assessments all in one go, 12 hours before the exam, saying, help, give me some feedback. But that's what they're there for. And although you have a personal tutor, they do work as a team. So if they are overloaded, all of a sudden they will spread that across and everyone mucks in from the team. Studying via distance learning is tough, which is why we feel that proactive contact is vital. So do make contact with us all the time. And the more you use us, the more you get. And some students don't need a great deal of support. Other students need lots, and it all balances out. So use us as your friend and your tutor, as well as our website, blogs, monthly Star Student, and e-newsletter. We're very active on Facebook with over 3,500 followers. I say they, because I don't understand it. So looking at pass rates, I'm desperate to talk about the pass rates, but although they produce comparative pass rates for distance learning training providers, as they do represent all providers, it's AAT policy, understandably, not to publish them. So although I want to tell you all about them, I won't. However, we did win the 2019 Distance Learning Training Provider of the Year award, so might be a hint there to our success rates.
So in terms of who we are, we've been delivering AAT training since 1992, and actually you before that. We're a private company, so Accountancy Learning is owned by the two of us. We've got 24 staff, including 15 tutors, and they're qualified at either and/or AAT, ACA, ACCA, and some of them have been training since 1984. Yep. We have over 1,300 distance learning students across the UK and 130 apprentices based in the Southwest. Pretty much all we do is AAT, apart from a small cohort that have progressed on to ACA for their Level 7 apprenticeship. We're absolutely passionate about training and we're totally committed to the AAT. And our biggest kick is seeing students progress and achieve their goals.
Well, we hope you found that was really useful, and thank you for AAT for giving us a chance to sit here and run through these things with you. What I'd like to do now is hand back to Joe, who's going to talk more about what's going on with the AAT. So it's goodbye from me.
And goodbye from him.
Thanks, Simon. I hope everybody who tuned in found Accountancy Learning's guide useful. We're now going to hear from 2 AAT students who we interviewed this week to find out their top motivation and study tips, followed by our latest AAT Stories film about the Lighting Industry Association and how AAT is helping to develop their finance team. So that's all from me. Enjoy the rest of your stream.
If you feel like giving up your studying, I would say just take a day off, take some time off, go to the gym, go for a nice walk, do anything to motivate yourself again, but don't give up.
Think about the reasons why you decided to do the course. Is it because you wanted to progress, you wanted to become an accountant, you wanted the recognition, the AAT status? If it's problems with understanding it, start to realise why you're not understanding it. Don't be scared. You've started that course for you. You know the reasons why you want to do that course. Everybody in this world is at different levels and people learn quicker, people learn slower, but all it comes down to is you. So just do it in your own pace and calm down, it's okay.
My revision tips are revise to classical music. You can get amazing music from YouTube for studying. I feel like it really helps you take in all the information.
First of all, learn your learning style. Do you prefer working in groups? Do you prefer working on your own? Then you can learn which learning course is best for you, classroom or long distance learning. Another tip is, how are you motivated? Are you motivated by having a restriction that you have to go to college on a certain date? Or are you motivated by you can sit at home and you get excited of just doing it really quickly? So long distance learning, you can go as quick as you want, there's no restriction. A revision tip as well is working out where you're best revising. Some people like to go to a library. I hate the library. I personally like to revise in my house, in the comfort of my own home, in a warm house, in comfy pyjamas, eating loads of sweets. But some people like to go to a library or a classroom. So work out where's your environment.
The way I juggle studying and work life is I set a routine. I try and do at least half an hour to an hour every day.
AAT website, get on that straight away.
My favourite study resource has to be the AAT website. I love the exams with the answers. I find that's really helpful.
The only way I personally know where I am at and if I'm ready for an exam is by doing that exam on the AAT website. If I'm coming up as competent, that's good. Then I start working out which questions I've got wrong and then trying to get them right. If it's saying that I've failed, I've got to put in quite a lot more work. I use the Osborne books quite a lot, and you always find at the end of the material there is a chapter summary that has questions. They are really, really beneficial because it helps you see if you've actually understood what you've just read. It's a massive indicator, so half the time you read stuff, it goes in and it goes out again. By doing that chapter summary, you're actually reaffirming what you've just read and if you understand it. So do your reading and your chapter activities. My goals for 2020 is complete level 4, which is the professional diploma in accounting. I've done 1 exam in December and I've got 5 more to go, so wish me luck. I want to apply for AAT status, but the first priority is get the exams done, and then as soon as that's finished, apply for my AAT status.
I've worked in finance for over 20 years, and what I recognised is that AAT give a really good foundation knowledge to anybody who wants to become an accountant. The Lighting Association has around 50 staff. It's the largest trade association in Europe dedicated to serving our UK lighting industry and its supply chain. Accountancy is not just a job, it is a career. In order to ensure that the team progress, AAT was my first qualification of choice. Within the finance function, we have 5 members of staff.
Working in a small accounts team, you get to know everything. You learn a lot quicker. Every day is different. I had nothing when I came here. I had no qualifications. So when I started my AAT while I was here, it showed me the other side of the system. So I've progressed from a finance admin all the way up to now management accountant.
We currently have 56% of our staff undertaking some form of qualification, of which we have a number doing an apprenticeship.
Apprenticeships are a really good way to get into the proper working world. I'm currently studying foundation in accounting. It's definitely something I'd recommend.
AAT has opened numerous doors for me. I'm getting on-the-job experience. I'll be more attractable to employers. If you have a good understanding of accountancy, then you can't go far wrong.
But there is a great benefit in targeting those people that are new into their career. It's great for me because we have a motivated pool of staff that can not only give you support in the finance function, but across the business.
It's really nice working here. It's very varied. I never really wanted to go to university. It wasn't something I was particularly interested in, whereas now I've done a qualification that is university level. The studying with the AAT has definitely helped with my progression.
But what's great within the team is because there's 4 studying, they form like a little bond. So they often do a lot of study together and they help each other out. And all the jokes in the team are happening because everybody wants to get the TB to balance first. So they have little competitions amongst themselves. The exposure we've had with AAT and the training provider has been exemplar. It gives them the underpinning knowledge for accountancy, the qualification to support their learning and ultimately support their career.